A general math construct, a lesson in reality. Hi. If you come here, you're looking for some sort of lesson on mathematics. Now, this might not be what they teach you in school, and you might disagree with a lot of what I'm telling you, but I assure you, I know a lot about mathematics. And I'm going to just create this first video as the construct, the fundamental. This is the first step in what you need to understand as we go forward, because as many teachers, you might have many teachers in your life throughout mathematics. If you continue on using me as your teacher, you'll probably find that I'm pretty consistent. And if you had the same teacher for addition, multiplication, subtraction, division, algebra, algebra 2, geometry, and so forth and so on, you might be able to get better at these things, because if you keep on getting different people, you might struggle to understand them or understand their basic philosophy on mathematics in the first place. So I just want you to understand that. Secondly, this is not the kind of math lesson you're going to get in a school. This is not the kind of math lesson that's going to pat you on the head and tell you you're wonderful. I just don't do that. What I'm here to do is to give you the fundamental parts of being good at any kind of math you ever do for the rest of your life. No matter what that math is, no matter what it entails, I'm going to teach you to be the best at it and how I did it. Now, before we go on, I just want you to think about something for a second. Who is talking to you right now? Who's your teacher? So think about that. Who's this person? Well, let me tell you who this person is. In 8th grade, I was in remedial math. That means that I was in a math class that the government basically said I didn't live up to their expectations. I didn't meet their standard or standardized tests of being good enough to being in what would be considered normal math class for my grade. They thought I was some sort of mathematic type of person, that I just could not be what they wanted. I wasn't their poster child for being a good math student. And I disagree with that. But whether I disagree with it, it doesn't matter. So let me tell you a little story. When I was in my 8th grade class, there were these posters up on the wall, many of them. And I would basically finish up all my little in-class math homework that I had to do, and I would look up these posters, and I would figure out all the answers to these problems that they had on there. So one day I just went up to my teacher and said, "Hey, I know the answers to all these problems on these posters." And he goes, "Yeah, what are they?" So I went through them and just explained, that's this answer over here and that's that answer over there. And he asked the rest of the class, "Anybody know how to do any of these problems on these posters?" And they pretty much shook their head no. And he said, "Great, wonderful. Now go back, sit down and twiddle your thumbs." And that's what the government does, right? That's the bureaucracy. They don't care if you're good in math or you're not good in math. It's, this is where you're at and this is what you're supposed to be doing, so you have to do it. And, they're not moving me on up and say, whoa, we got ourselves somebody who's good in math here. Let's move this person up. He's in the wrong class. They don't do that, do they? No, they just sit you down and tell you to twiddle your thumbs. So by the time I was in 10th grade, I was in algebra 2, and I took geometry as an elective. Now, most people don't usually take 2 math classes in high school at the same time, but that was really great for me because I really built upon what I already knew in math, and then had some sort of parallel, something on the side that let me see what was I missing, right? So it's basically like having one Lego. And if you have one Lego and you have 2 Lego, and both those Legos are exactly the same Lego, both in size, shape, and color, and you put that one Lego on top of that other Lego, you can analyze 2 Legos at the same time, but really they're the same thing. And so when I was going through math courses throughout most of my life, both in basically in every situation except my 10th grade year, I was always taking one math class as if it was, this is the next step in your progression of math. Where here I was taking 2 math classes at the same time, and it was a different perspective, right? So I saw a lot of things that were the same. Like you see in my little formulas here, you see some stuff that looks the same, yet they say different, but there's some patterns there that match up. So moving on here. In 12th grade, I was in AP Calculus, and whether you understand this formula or not, it doesn't really matter. Nobody outright told me this is what this means about this formula. It was always the next progression, the next, this is the next class, this is the next formula you have to understand, but I didn't really understand it from the perspective of what I've written up there. Whether you understand it or not, it doesn't matter. But This is the basic fundamental part of mathematics. This is really calculus. And let me just tell you one thing about calculus. If you look up calculus, you will see that calculus is the addition of 1. That's what calculus means. Calculus means that you're adding 1 to something else. It doesn't matter what that thing else is, you're just adding 1. Okay? So think about it for a second. You're a person, you have a set of knowledge, you have a briefcase, a file cabinet of information in your brain, and here I am trying to teach you 1. I'm trying to add 1 to what you already know. And maybe you might learn something, and maybe you're going to say, man, this guy don't know. In that case, you should just say, hey, I don't like this guy. I don't think he's going to teach me what I need to know in my classes, and I better take off. I better go find a YouTube of somebody who will relate with me. But let me just tell you something. I taught both in high school and I taught at a university, and I basically taught these same fundamental principles. No matter what you do, no matter what, whether it be engineering or whether it be quality control or whether you're just adding some numbers to buy some food at the store, it doesn't matter what the math application is. What matters is that you understand the fundamental parts. So just think about that for a second. The person who's talking to you was a failure. The government said I was a failure. They said I wasn't going to amount to nothing. And I graduated from college with 2 bachelor's degrees, one in computer science, one in electronics engineering, and a minor in mathematics, and a master's degree in industrial engineering by the age of 24. So the government said I was a failure at 8th grade, but by the time I was 24, I accomplished a lot. Okay, we'll just say that right now. And I was teaching, and I taught past that, and I've taught in different countries. So that's kind of anecdotal maybe idea in your mind. It doesn't really matter whether you believe that you'll be able to be good at math or whether you're bad at math. What you need to understand is I've taught a lot of people, and a lot of people say, well, I never really thought about it like that. So let's move on here. It's always going to be, when we learn math, from my perspective, it's always going to be 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1 is the fundamental part of your understanding of life. Okay? We'll get into much more detail about that, but like I said, calculus in itself is the addition of 1. So even if you don't understand the calculus symbols and all those, that formula that was previous, it doesn't matter whether you understand that. You can understand that later, as long as you understand that you can add 1 to something. That's what's important. So if you can do 1 plus 1, you can easily understand where I'm going with this. If you want to keep learning math with a good teacher, you know what to do. Have a good day.